if a kid is nervous before an exam, why are we telling the kid you have anxiety? We're giving them a chronic disease and often medicating them. We're converting America's children into a generation of patients. And what's happening is that in some cases, we're engaging in the medicalization of ordinary life. If kids need to feel different emotions, it can be normal. And the boundaries of what's normal and not normal, which need to be there, are now completely obscured. And it's a consumerist demand. Every kid is, somewhere in the diagnosis world of having a condition. And what are we doing about these things? We're putting the kids on more meds and more meds. Pretty soon, every 6-year-old in America is going to be on 4 different medications. And every kid that likes potato chips is going to be on Ozempic. What are we doing? We are doing a tremendous disservice to children that need to feel different emotions within the context of a loving relationship, a community. And instead, we tell kids, suicide, for example. The CDC does the absolute worst thing for suicide that you can do to a kid. They have these posters that go in the schools that basically say, this happens and is very common, suggesting you might want to do this or you might be one of these kids. This is how it's done. And there's almost nothing you can do about it. So maybe call this number. And it's like, you're doing everything in the world of suicide science. You're doing everything you're not supposed to be doing. And then we take these kids who normally are going through the confusion of childhood with who they are, identity, gender, and we're assigning these diagnoses and doing life-altering operations and sterilization procedures. It's the medicalization of ordinary life in many cases. And it's a nuanced topic, but this is a trend in medicine where nobody is talking about communities to treat depression. Instead, it's drugs to treat depression. No one's talking about talk therapy. Instead, it's drugs. No one's talking about changing the schools so that a kid doesn't have to sit at a desk obediently for 8 hours. Maybe that's not normal for every kid. Maybe in an ancient society, a kid who was curious and active and would talk a lot would be a great warrior or scholar. But in today's modern world, just because they can't sit in a chair for 8 hours, we tell them...
Yeah. This is my favorite subject, actually. Yeah, we tell them, if you don't sit down and shut up in the most boring possible constricture, you're a bad person and a bad citizen.
Are you familiar with the 6 major types of intelligence that were delineated by this Harvard professor? One of them is spatial. So, in the old days, it was verbal and math, and
yeah.
I mean, such a broken way of assessing the intelligence of kids. Now we're recognizing there's many domains of intelligence, including musical, including coordination, why these super athletes, that is a form of intelligence. Awareness, self-awareness, and perceptive awareness. People who are good in mathematics and logic. And then what we call the high spatial intelligence. Their mind is racing with questions. I actually have this. I was diagnosed late in life. I don't know if diagnosed is the right term. It's not a disease. It's my personality type. My brain is constantly racing with questions, ideas, wondering about this, connects to this, what would this person... And so I have trouble sometimes focusing, but it also enables someone to think creatively. And when the developmental optometrist who talked with me about this, it wasn't a problem, but I was in there with my a family member who got this diagnosis, and I said, "You're talking to the choir. I got the same thing as my whole life." And they said these folks tend to be entrepreneurs. Elon Musk is like this. I mean, they don't do well.
Clearly. He's clearly like going 1,000 miles an hour.
You can see it in his eyes, like when he's talking. So what do we do with these kids? We tell them, sit still, take these medications to sit still. And if you don't sit still, you're not going to learn. Maybe they need to learn another way. And so this family member, the doc said, she shouldn't change. The school should change because she has this incredible intelligence that the schools don't understand. It's called spatial intelligence, high spatial. So sure enough, we switched schools and she's thriving.
The medical system is a disappointment. And it seems like there's a bunch of different threads going on here. So one is we've spent a lot of this conversation talking about this sort of oligarch of dogma lab coat experts pushing things that turn out to be false, maybe even often at the time when it's being pushed. There's this broader set of incentives that are in place and that have been tweaked and changed over time. Mostly it seems like for worse. But how do you understand what's wrong with American medicine as an industry, let's say? Because we like to say system, like your operating system on your computer, but it's really not a system. It's a set of institutions and the government and hospitals. It's an industry. So what's wrong with the industry here?
I think the business was never designed to put patients at the center. It was sort of haphazard, put together de facto. It started altruistically. If you look at America's hospitals, the first hospital in the United States from your hometown of Philadelphia was Pennsylvania Hospital at I think it was 9th and Spruce. An amazing place, co-founded by Benjamin Franklin, this guy Benjamin Rush, who was a psychiatrist. It was funded by philanthropy. It had a charter to be a safe haven for people, regardless of their race or their beliefs or their ability to pay. I mean, that is our great medical heritage. And what happened over time is we didn't know how to manage the cost of certain technologies, so we created this concept of insurance. It started from a hospital in Texas.
Yeah, Baylor, right?
Baylor, yeah. They started the first insurance, and it kind of, clunked along. And then what happened is the healthcare system had this explosion of scientific information, everything from cardiac stents to complex surgery. These bills were kind of funny money where the insurance companies, the hospitals are paying themselves. And then these consultants swooped in the 1980s and they said, hey, hospitals, here's a game you can play and we'll show you exactly how to do it. Dial up your prices to some massive astronomical price that nobody will pay. And then the discounts that you offer will be off that high sticker price and you'll get more money from insurance. Well, insurance over time managed this by raising deductibles, raised premiums, and they kind of, realized, well, we got to consolidate to be able to put the squeeze on the hospitals more and have more power in negotiating these discounts. And the hospitals said the same thing, and we started this arms race. And everyone that goes into medicine at every level is a good person. I mean, best.
I would say most people in general are good people and want to just live a good life, create value for others. And then they get into the complexity of their industry and they're trying to figure it out and all this stuff.
Yeah, the perverse incentives.
But continue.
I mean, the sort of girl in junior high school that when asked, what do you want to go into? And they say, I'm thinking about becoming a nurse. They're different from their peers. There's this calling in medicine, and it's at every level, administration. And so we have a community of people united around a sense of compassion. It's an incredible heritage that we uphold. But we've inherited this broken system, and instead of redesigning it or challenging it or speaking out, people get frustrated, they put their head down, and they just end up collecting their paycheck every 2 weeks. And the people at the top, the doctors and the medical elite establishment, are kind of busy in this academic hierarchy and, climbing that academic ladder. Well, I got to the point where I went as far as you can go in kind of record time. I had the privilege of a lot of research going really well, great mentors, got an opportunity to work with the head surgeon at Johns Hopkins, then joined his group, and he kind of helped carry my career. And then you realize at a certain point, most of the research we do, most people aren't reading the studies. They're not making a big impact. Most of the conferences I'm going to are dumb. They're just talking to ourselves, talking ideas that never leave the echo chambers of the inside of medicine. And what are we doing? What are we doing? We have the most medicated generation in the history of the world. We're witnessing the medicalization of ordinary life. We're seeing patients get price gouged to the point where they don't trust us anymore. These bills are illegible. We're disconnected. The public doesn't trust us. What are we doing? We have these silos in medicine from our fragmented specialization system where we glorify people who are highly specialized, but we're missing out on the fact that certain things are connected to health broadly, and they can cover 80 different specialties, and no one is really looking at the whole picture sometimes. Menopause, general body inflammation, food as medicine, the microbiome, metabolic health, mitochondrial health. These are the core topics in medicine. I mean, metabolic health is at the core of insulin resistance, obesity, diabetes. We're not talking about these topics. Instead, we have this reactionary system that is a system for sickness. We treat sickness.
If you like this clip, you should check out the full video and all the other great content we've got at Dad Saves America. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss our new stuff as it drops each week.